Steiner and adolescence. So what does Steiner think about or say about being a teenager? So straight up, it talks about, they look at our life unfolding in 7-year blocks. Now, they're not the only ones that do that, but this is what they do. They look at 7-year blocks. So 0 to 7 is the first kind of childhood cycle. So then 7 to 14 is the next, and 14 to 21 is the next. So when you're looking at, when we think about adolescence, we kind of think of almost from maybe the 7 to the 21. So there's 2 different blocks, and there are 2 different stages of life from the Steiner perspective. So 0 to 7 is all about just physical development. So you think about how much physical development happens in those ages. Like they're little babies, they're not, and we've been looking a lot of this through this course, where they haven't been able to, what do they need to do to be able to take their head up? What do they need to be able to do? Stand up. What do they need to be able to do? Start to push up, to crawl, to stand up. And so all of that takes a lot of energy, and so they're very much in their physicality. Where do they stop and somebody else begin? How do they stop running? How can they get there, when they smack someone because their hands go out and they don't realize that their hands continues there because they can only sense it to live to here, and then they're whacking you. All of this kind of understanding where they end, where they start, and getting that real physical development beginning is 0 to 7. And so in that perspective, you wouldn't be introducing formal learning until they've reached that stage, until that developmental stage is passed. At that stage, they're very much playing and physically touching and having that real tactile sensation of everything. So very unstructured, and yet lots happening in it. 7 to 14, then you're looking at the feeling and imagination. So we talk about that as being the emotional development. So we would talk about it that they love their teachers, that they, how often has your kid come home and they are waxing lyrically about something the teacher said, and you're like, that's complete bullshit, but like, oh, the teacher said it, so you have to go, oh, that's great. But they are in love with their teachers. No, that's not always the case, but it's very much feeling and emotion and fairy tales and imagination, and you can bring them to, that's the time to bring them to see Santi or to go wherever on these little trails in their imagination or in their physical body. And then 14 to 21, so again, slight mismatch with our secondary education, but 14 to 21, then we think about this as being intellectual development. This is when their brain kicks in, as in concept, as in really abstract thinking, as in wanting to be with experts, So secondary school, your secondary school teacher better know what the hell they're talking about. They better know more than you. They better not be wishy-washy. They better not be wishy-washy. They should have experts, they should have facts, they should know, they should be able to teach you something, And the same in university, you don't want someone who's like, oh, whatever, waffling. No waffling. We want like concepts, we want facts, we want intellectual challenging. That's where all that judgment, like at that point, then you're looking to be thinking and to be judging and to be assessing. Where you're coming into your own, you're making your own decisions. There's a whole lot kind of happening in that stage. So, and again, I know this is a kind of not necessarily about the 14 to 21-year-olds, but that if they have had physical experience of it and then been brought through the love of it, so physical experience of water, love of water, then they get to think about it and know the scientific makeup of water and where is it and what's the so then they move into the thinking, that the analyzing side of it, and then that should bring them to full freedom so that they can experience water for the rest of their life because they've been brought through it, that it's not been introduced to them as a concept. Water is H2O and blah blah blah, that they have experienced it, they've fallen in love with it, and now they add on the layer of thinking, which means that as an adult they can be in wonder about water. Like they can open the tap and take a glass of water and go, wow, that's amazing, and then they can taste it, and then they can realize that they're sweating, and then they can see the rain, and then like they can go to the sea, and then they can go to the ocean, and then they can go to a river, and then they can look at the dew on the leaf, and then they can like, water, I mean, just like that. So that's the idea between why we bring them through these stages, so that wonder is always present. So if you look at 14 to 21-year-olds, adolescence, which is where we're looking really at this massive hormone shift, given that we're on the endocrine system, this is really where you're looking at the birth of the individual. So at the beginning, they don't know they're different from you, assuming you're the parent, right? They don't know that there is another. Then they start to realize that there is another, but they are really in it. So they are in their family. They are part of their family. They with their parents, they have their parents' opinion about everything. You ever see a little kid and they're pontificating whatever about whatever, but it's not yet their opinion. It's something that they have absorbed. So they've absorbed it from the community, their community. And now as an adolescent, that's when they're starting to figure out, is this mine? Do I like it? Do I believe it? Is it true? And that's when this whole pulling apart happens. So they're still within you, assuming now I'm talking totally from a parent point of view, from this point of view, but they're sort of still within you, but they need to become a separate individual. The point is to have them as separate individuals. That idea of two trees, two trees, they can't be growing, like if you have a little sapling and it grows right beside this, it's not going to get to full growth because this tree is too big. It's taken all the light, it's taken all the nutrients. For this sapling to actually survive, it had to have landed out here somewhere. And then out here, it's still protected by the parent tree, but then gradually it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it is its own tree. It's got its own light, it's got its own nutrients from the ground, and there is separation. They are now separate entities. If they're right in here and they can't ever break free from you, then they're always going to be restricted. They're always going to be stunted in their growth. So we want them to move away, to grow into themselves. But that process is very difficult because they were part of you, and then they start to move away. And now they want to go away, but then they get scared, they come back. They want to go away, they get scared, they come back. We talk about that with 3-year-olds, like the 2 and 3-year-olds. You see them, their mommy is sitting, say you're at a coffee shop or you're in a playground or wherever, with those little toddlers. They will come and they will touch their mother or their caretaker or whoever it is that's brought them. Then they'll touch them, then they'll go run away and play. Then they'll come back and they'll touch them again, then they'll go run away, and then they'll come back and touch, and then they'll run somewhere else, and then they'll come back, touch, and they'll run away. So they're constantly coming back. 2-year-olds, we think that's cute. Bring them to 15-year-olds or 14-year-olds, and they're coming in when they're crying, they're upset, they're like little kids, and then they pull away, and then when it's extreme, it is like extreme. It's like, because they need such force to get away from you, because you're such a gravitational pull, and you have been their gravitational pull forever, so they need a lot of force to get away. And what does that force look like? It looks like slamming doors, it looks like screaming at you, it's like, you know nothing, like, whatever, to get that force, because they are looking to build that strength to be their own person. Meanwhile, we're sitting here like going, Jesus, here it goes again. Help. But at the 2-year-old stage, we don't mind. But at this older stage, they look bigger. So it's hard to see them as this being that is trying to develop their independence from you, and that it's really, really important that they do develop their independence from you. And this is them flexing their muscles. And it's a bit like a terabania. They have to put such force into getting away, and then they're right back on top of you again. And then they have to put such force into getting away, and then they're right back on top of you, until their muscles get strong enough that they can be out here. Then something happens, like they're in exam stress, and then they're like a bitch to get back out again, And then they're grand out here, and then something happens, break up with a boyfriend or something, and then they're back out. This is the toing and going. This is them developing their muscles. It's them developing who they are, developing their independence, developing their sense of self, and wondering, who the hell am I? Do I believe that? Am I going to vote for the same people as my parents voted for? Or am I not going to vote for them because my parents voted for them? Two sides of the same coin. We do it ourselves in reaction to our parents, or copying our parents, not independent thinking. So this is all what's going to happen. I think it's so cool. I love adolescence. Now, when I'm the one being screamed at or the door's been slammed in my face, maybe I'm not so happy about it. Boundaries, conversations, timing. However, what an honor and privilege to be able to be with these young people. And if this is the teens yoga program that I'm talking to, Don't worry, they don't act like that with strangers. It's only their parents, maybe their teachers, but it's it's mainly the parents that get that. So you'll be fine. But what is it that when they are struggling to discover their identity, struggling to discover who they are, struggling to discover their own sense of self, like how beautiful, how amazing is that? On a brain development though, remember we talked about this earlier, their brain is also physically changing. Apart from completely from all the hormones that are running around them, there is a brain developmental stage, a physical brain development stage happening. The Steiner, their perspective is also about the spiritual side. And this is why I like to add this in, because we've got the chemical side now down. But there's also this soul, this transition from a soul or a spiritual transformation that's happening. And so what they would talk about is that adolescence, we talk about these like bodies, we talk about it in IREST, in Nidra. We talk about, in the Nidra training, we talk about the different bodies, the different layers. Lots of yoga philosophies will talk about the different layers. We've talked about it in here in terms of the physical layers. But then there's this sort of astral layer, moving out into this space and finding who they are themselves. And so this is also happening for teenagers, which is why there's such crack to be around, because they do have this wonder and awe. They are wondering, like, wow, what is the point? What am I here for? What's the point in the world? And this is where it's really important for me to be really inspiring. Giving them big questions. Give them big questions, but not in a negative, not in a woe is me, the world is ending way, but not in a, you are our saviors. If you start recycling, the whole world will, but it's all up into you because the old people are too stupid, so it's all on you. Not dumping the problems we've created on them, and not being the world is going to end because of global warming, or in our case, when I was a teenager, it was nuclear disaster, and that's getting that way again. Not like that, but like inspiration. Like, what is possible? What technology? Like, look at the technology changed since we were born to now. What is going to be possible between now and when you're our age? Like, it's just not. It's literally beyond my brain to fathom what could possibly happen. And so, really supporting that. So what do they say? So the key characteristics of adolescence from a Steiner Waldorf anthroposophical, 3 words, I've used 3 different words there, perspective. So from the emotional depth, we're looking at strong emotions. No shit, Batman. I don't think Steiner had any kids. Sorry. I'm sorry. It's like but they're longing. So this like real strong emotions, longing for connection, longing for meaning, longing for purpose, a real hunger, idealism. If you're not idealistic in your late teens and early, when you're a college student, well, what hope is there? And this is a big, I think we really need to look after this. I think this is something we should be feeding because it's something we should be feeding. I'm going to sound like an old curmudgeon now, but, where are the Greenpeace protests? When I was in college, we were protesting. Where was the Save the World protests? My son was describing the only protesters he saw on the college campus was to reduce college fees. Let's support people, think beyond themselves. Like, if you can't think beyond yourself when you're a college student, like, let's support that. Let's welcome that back. That like activism, that like passion, that knowing that they can make a difference and that they're bigger than themselves, that. Anyway, sorry. So idealism. Teens are seeking truth, they're seeking justice. Like, let's support that. And they're seeking purpose. Questioning authority. Really important that they really develop this critical thinking. So teaching them how to question authority and be heard. So being respectful and questioning. How can they be heard? So that they don't feel like they have to throw paint at stuff, but that they can have informed conversations and that they can have an influence. Moral awakening. Now they're coming into their own selves, because up until now they've just adopted their parents' morals. Now they're looking at what are their moral awakening. And again, from a Steiner perspective, that is innate within us. Our morals are innate within us. And so we are wakening up our own. So our own personal ethical beliefs. So, becoming a vegan or a vegetarian, not wearing leather, that is vegan, but, animal products. We had the Body Shop, all these kind of things. And then there's also that inner conflict, and so really recognizing that between this idea of being dependent, because they were dependent, they were the little dependent, and now they want to be independent, but they're not independent yet. They're still financially dependent on people, probably. They're still definitely emotionally dependent on people. So with this fight from dependence to independence, we're looking to support them become to interdependence. And if we haven't ourselves reached interdependence, then we have no hope of helping them. What is interdependence? It means that we are both independent and dependent. We're not stuck to each other. We're not completely isolated, but we support each other. It takes the two trees. These trees are in communication, or these animals, or these mushrooms. If you look at a natural forest, you look at mushrooms. There's a beautiful book, and I can't remember the name of it, which talks about the forest and about the trees and how the trees will support each other. And then so if it's a naturally occurring forest as opposed to a planted one, so all of these trees, so these trees are the mother of these trees and the spin-off, that they're interrelated. They have this root network that will allow them to support each other and communicate with each other. And they don't support and communicate other species unless the forest comes under threat. If there is severe drought or severe conditions, then suddenly they also support the other species of trees. It's fascinating. And the mushrooms, same, anyway, fascinating. But that's what we're looking to help ourselves get to, is this idea of interdependence, and where we're helping the young people, because they feel it's just a by choice, a two choice, this one or this one, and they don't want this one, and they're not ready for this one. So they have to come from here to here to be able to come back to here. Let's have a little look. What else have I got for that? Characteristics. In terms of, again, for education, because obviously that's the area that I'm the more experienced in, and if you're looking at teaching yoga to teens, this would be kind of relevant. You're looking at really using tools that mirror in society what it is they're looking to battle and to find within themselves. So in the younger years, so sort of 14, 15 age, you might be looking at revolutions, at turbulence, at so you might have a theme. Or if you're doing a play, or if you're doing drama, or if you're having a theme for your yoga class, or if you're doing projects. If you're a teacher, it might be stuff like the French Revolution, or kind of things where it's stirred up, And then when they get a little bit older, sort of 16, 17, then you're looking at more philosophy. Maybe introducing literature, although a lot of the literature is not really accessible to young people, but philosophy and thinking and kind of wondering and ethics, and which is where yoga and the yoga stories are really useful, because yoga has a lot around philosophy. So, use it. Don't be afraid don't shy away from it. And science all the time, then, like facts. So if you are, again, if you're teaching yoga to teens, then give them the information. We're doing this breath because it's going to increase your blood, the oxygen in your blood by a certain percent, or this type of breath reduces these chemicals in your brain, or all the stuff that I'm terrible at. The actual facts. Have them maybe written down on a sheet, so that you can remember them, and that they can take them away, because they like that. They like to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, and really respect that about them. And then relationship, art, creativity in everything. So freedom in everything, critical thinking, judgment, loads.